Hey crafty friends, this is Jenny from crafttestdummies.com, and today I have a review of the Martha Stewart Deluxe scoring board with paper trimmer. Let's take a look and see how it works. So first let's do a basic overview of the Martha Stewart Deluxe Trim and Scoreboard. You'll see that it is a pretty wide beast. It has markings for 12 inches, but it goes actually another 2 beyond that, so it's about 14 inches square. You'll also notice that it has kind of a bar along the top. This holds templates. This is the part that slides back and forth. This is actually your cutting blade. I'm going to just do this for you again so you can hear it. So it rolls along these grooves, and you actually move, instead of moving the paper to where you want it to trim, you move the trimmer back and forth. And then along this side, there are a bunch of measurements as well. Now we'll take a closer look at some of the details. Okay, so I've turned the board around, so this would be on my right-hand side since I'm right-handed. First of all, you have nifty onboard storage for your stylus. It just pops in and out. You also have a little place here that stores your envelope scoring tool, and this actually has all of the measurements that you need for making your envelopes, with a little demonstration of how to do it. So I love the fact that it's just right there at your fingertips where you need it. So here along the top, you've got this little tray, and it flips up and down. I wasn't aware of that originally. I actually thought it came all the way off, because it does. But it's supposed to work on this hinge. And then inside, you'll find all of these different patterns or templates. Actually, I like the idea a lot. What you'll do is select a project that you want to make. For example, this is a 2x2 box. And you'll slide it into the little tray here. Now this is important. You must slide it in the tray. I tried just leaving them here inside, and all of my markings were wrong, which was, as you can imagine, very disappointing. Let me give you a close-up of this so you can see it. As we flip the tool onto its back, you can see that it has little rubberized grips so it doesn't slide around a lot when you use it. And then this little key back here is for when you need to change the blade. The one thing that's missing though is a little box to store your extra blades. None came with this particular configuration, and there's no place to store them on the tool itself, which means that you're more likely to lose them, frankly, because I do. All right, now let's start a project. So now to create your project, you're going to follow the numbers that are on this template once it's securely in here. So number 1 is you start by cutting your paper. Now here's the interesting thing. It'll tell you that you have to have a minimum paper size of 6x6. Otherwise, you start with just a plain piece of paper. So for just kicks and giggles, we're going to use this piece of just text weight paper. So I'm going to slide this over. Now this is the first issue that I have with this machine, is that there's no way to lift the cutting bar up and down. So you kind of have to just jimmy your paper underneath it the best you can. You line it up and you start at number 1, which is right here. And there's actually a little guidepost right here so you can see that you've hit number 1. And then you're going to cut your paper. So I suggest starting from the bottom and going to the top, but because this is where the camera is framed, I'll start from the top and go down to the bottom. Now, this is the second problem I have with the trimmer, is that it does not like to start a clean cut. And this is a brand new blade. I've used it 3 times, and the blade is just not super sharp. Here's something else I want to show you. Do you see how it dips? We'll talk more about these cuts, but it has a hard time making a straight line. But let's finish with this demonstration and then we'll pick it apart. So you start with number 1 and you cut it. Anything in these little diamonds is something that you cut. Then what we're going to do is rotate it 90 degrees and cut again. So it's on the same mark. So this time I'm going to start the cut from the bottom. I find that for some reason, if your paper's lined at the top, cut from the bottom, and vice versa. So let's just Okay. Then what it tells you next to do is follow circle number 3. That means score. So it says score and turn 90 degrees and repeat 4 times. So you score using the included stylus and rotate and score and rotate and score and rotate and score. And then it says cut, and you'll cut out the parts, and it'll actually say, you know, refer to the booklet to how to assemble it. But that gives you your cut lines. And as far as the scoreboard goes, it does a very nice job of scoring. One thing that I am not thrilled with the tool is that it has the ball stylus at one end, but it doesn't have like a nice sharp creaser on the other side. Like a traditional bone folder is usually more like a butter knife. You can certainly use this, but I have a personal preference to the other style, so take that as you will. So next I used these included templates to make some cards and some envelopes. So one of the ones I tried was a gatefold card, and I found the information to be accurate as long as you slide these templates inside the top here. The first 2 things I just flipped it up and like, oh, I'll just use it from here. No, you cannot do that because all the dimensions will be off. But once I figured that out, the gatefold card is really nice, pretty simple. I made 2 different styles of envelopes using that envelope tool. This one is just a regular flat envelope. They tell you just to make the dimensions 1/8 of an inch smaller and then fold as you normally would. I found that it still made it just maybe a little wider than it needs to be. Let me show you when I put it inside here. See how you have that? This is where the envelope comes down. It's just a little bit wider than it actually needs to be, but I'm not going to pick that apart because it worked great. What I really liked were the dimensional envelopes. These ones were just a little bit bigger. If you follow the directions exactly, that way if you have a very dimensional envelope or a dimensional project, card especially, you can just slide it in and out and it gives it that extra room for poofy things. So that I really liked. I really like it to make my envelopes. But of course, you're really buying this tool not just to make envelopes, but to cut paper. And this is sadly where I think it's not a great tool. Because there's no way to move this up and down, you can only slide it back and forth. It's sometimes challenging to get your paper under there quickly. Secondly, because this slides back and forth and you have to actually push down and then pull or push, sometimes the cuts are unreliable, and as you can see, sometimes it will rip at the very beginning. And I'm not doing that on purpose, but I've tried different weights of paper and they all do this, sadly. Text weight paper gave me a little rip. This is some heavier weight double-sided paper, and I don't know if you can see this here. Let me see if I can get a little closer, maybe not. Yeah, you see how it's kind of ripped there? It just wasn't a nice clean cut. Here on this paper, also not a nice clean cut. And there were a couple of pieces of cardstock that it just absolutely mangled. So I'm not happy with that, and I'm going to show you a still in a minute that also points out that they're just not straight cuts. This is not a straight cut. And I think that that's not too much to ask from a paper trimmer, that it cuts straight. So there you have it. It's not my favorite tool. I have to admit that it's one that I purchased myself and it's going back, and that hardly ever happens. I would love to hear your thoughts and comments, especially if you have this tool. Feel free to leave them in the section below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful and maybe even informative to your future crafting purchases, please give it a thumbs up. And if you didn't like it, just tell me why, because I'm always looking to improve my content for you. Thank you so much, and we would love it if you subscribe to our channel so that you're here for all of the crafty goodness every time a new one goes live. So y'all have a crafty day. Bye now.